Possible the biggest serial killer of all time has just been caught, August 2026. It's Eugene Horsch. This all started when he was pulled over 2 months ago in June of 2026. He was pulled over alongside an unnamed female that had the ID belonging to Blair Tonzelli, which is a girl that's been missing for more than 3 years. So she might be one of the victims as well. So what we know is that Eugene Horsch has a house in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. When the DEA searched the house, because when they pulled him over, he had so many charges that it was unreal, plus the missing person ID. He had illegal weapons. He had large amounts of drugs on him. He had that missing person's ID. There was all kinds of crazy stuff going on when they pulled him over. So they did a DEA search on his house. What they found is truly shocking, and I'm surprised we haven't seen more of it on the mainstream media. They might just be scared to let people know that people like this could be your next door neighbor. They found more than 700,000 images of what appeared to be RAPE and death. They found more than 60,000 videos containing the same subject material, more than 10,000 hand-drawn drawings and manuscripts, etc. This evidence is huge. We're talking about almost 1 million things of evidence they're having to go through. So they start going through them, thinking it's just stuff that he's downloaded off the dark web and he's just a sick individual. But they're looking for this Blair girl, right? Well, when they're looking through the videos, they realize, hey, some of these videos and photos are from inside of this house. And they only went through roughly about 5% of the data. So only 5%. And they already found out that he is definitely responsible for the murders of 4 women. But they haven't found their bodies. It's just videos and photos of him doing things to them and then them dead in the videos and stuff. Gabrielle had been missing since 2012. And Maribel went missing in 2018. Now, the other 2 women that are believed to be involved in this is Blair, which, she's missing since 2023. Supposedly, her father and Eugene's father had some kind of drug arrangement originally planned out. They found a giant grow house in his basement and a humongous stash of illegal weapons. So this guy's into like every single bad thing you could be into, essentially. And the other woman was Amy McHale, and she also had ties to him. She was actually married to Eugene's father, so she would have technically been his stepmother. Now, we don't have videos and photos of them yet. They're still going through everything. We have videos and photos of the other 2, though. And then we also have 5 urns containing human DNA, human remains. And we don't know who those 5 urns belong to. Now, here's the crazy part, is Blair actually told people days before she went missing that this crazy guy comes over to my dad's house and talks about melting people in these giant barrels. And that might explain why we haven't found any bodies yet. Because in these giant barrels that they found in his home, there was some kind of oil-like chemical substance that they are still analyzing right now to figure out what it is and what it does. My bet is it's some kind of acid that will completely vaporize, bone, skin, and everything. This story is still developing. But already, we know that there are potentially 10 bodies involved in this already. And we've only gone through 5% of the evidence. So we're waiting to hear who that unnamed woman was. Was she somebody that had Stockholm Syndrome and was forced to, she was held captive by him? Or is she somebody that was a lure? We do see a lot of modern cases of a female lure being involved. And that's gone back for a while, but we're just now hearing a lot more about it. Especially when it comes to like human sex traffickers and stuff. A woman is much easier to get somebody lured into a location where the attack can take place. So we don't know who she was yet, or why she seemed to be a willing participant carrying around an ID belonging to another woman. So we're going to find out. There's a reason why she's remained unnamed at this point. So we'll see that coming up. It looks like he might be doing the classic trope, though, of hunting down people that were already in this like drug world that might not be looked into by the police as much, because apparently what I was looking up online, that Amy McHale at the time she went missing was struggling with mental illness and drug abuse, and then also Blair's father was involved in the whole drug world. She was in a house where there was drugs coming in and out of it a lot, and we know how the police tend to investigate things when it's very heavily drug fueled. And they have a long ways to go. It's taken them 2 months to go through 5%. This could be years and years and years of them uncovering people, bodies, connecting cold cases. You're talking about somebody from 14 years ago that we know of right now. That is a long time for a serial killer to remain active, and we know how serial killer habits are. Most serial killers only go a few months, not years, between murders. And right now, we know that we have a 2012 disappearance, a 2016 disappearance, a 2018 disappearance, and a 2023 disappearance. So we know that there's going to be a lot that are going to fill in those blanks. That's what we're just waiting to see, is what blanks will be filled with what information. and this is an update to my video I did earlier today. This is live 2026 in August. Multiple details are coming out about this very fast. This is Eugene Horsch that was arrested. He got pulled over back in June. Now here we are in August, and the police just keep finding connections to this. His dad, however, though, might have been the start and the root to all of this. At least they might have been working together. So people are piecing together who Eugene Horsch's father was, and he was R.C. Horsch. If you don't recognize this guy, that's good. That's great. I would be scared if you did. Because what he was famous for, he has his own Wikipedia page, is he directed very graphic adult videos. Not your regular adult videos, like your softcore adult videos, but very gruesome, sodomized situation, RAPE situations, videos for adults. And he's even been a convicted felon multiple times over, which ties right into the son who just got caught for supposedly killing these women. And he had a bunch of drugs with him, and he had a bunch of illegal weapons with him. They lived together in this house, and one of the women that is connected with the son, Eugene Horsch, actually was married to the dad. They were married between 2004 and 2008. This is Amy McHale. And even though they divorced in 2008, and she wouldn't go missing until 8 years later in 2016, during those 8 years that they were divorced, apparently they stayed friends, RC and Amy did. And they were frequently seen together, and she was seen spending the night over at his house multiple times. We know this. In 2016, RC would have been around his early 70s or so, 71, 72. I know when my grandpa was in his early 70s, he was still working construction every day and was an absolute unit. So we know in RC's later days, he just died last year. We know that in his later days, he was pretty bedridden and he had failing lungs. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't still involved or orchestrating this in some kind of way. Because the last body we can connect with Eugene that went missing happened in 2023. 3 years ago, the dad was still 2 years away from dying. He still could have been involved. We don't know. He might have been the mastermind orchestrating all of this. We know that there's been over 700,000 photos, videos, manuscripts, hand drawings pulled from this one house. Over 70 devices full of information pulled out of this one house of horrors. And if that was his line of work, if RC's line of work was directing these awful graphic films, what if we are looking at his work all wrong? What if it wasn't fake? What if that was real stuff back then? Or at least some of it was. And these, he just couldn't get he couldn't get off on it anymore. So what he needed to do is to make it actually happen. That's the theory that's now coming out, is that RC might have had a role in his son doing these heinous things. If you didn't watch my earlier video, the link will be in the comments where you can watch the first part. And I talk about briefly in there how the police were pulling all these videos off these devices, and they're like, man, this guy's into some sick stuff. And then they realized that Eugene is in these videos, and these women that are in the videos are actually missing, and their bodies have never been found to this day. And the backgrounds of these videos were inside of the home. So it looks like that's just a home video style of this stuff. And a lot of people are circulating. There's a lot of rumors going around that they're making snuff films and, RAPE films, which are very popular in the dark web. The black market area. They're very popular for these underground little circuits. And that's what a lot of people are going to. Now, people are getting even crazier with their theories, but really not crazier when the proof is there that this was like a cult thing. And there was multiple people involved. And that's why because you got to think, how long would it take to snap over 700,000 photos and videos and drawings? Like, there had to have been a bunch of people involved. That's what a lot of people are saying, because Eugene Horsch, when he was arrested, the girl that was in the car with him is still anonymous. She's still unnamed. But she was using the ID of a girl that went missing in 2023, the last missing girl that we know of timeline-wise. Her name was Blair. I talked about her in the first video. The Blair girl who went missing in 2023 had connections to Eugene and RC. So apparently her dad would do drug deals with Eugene's dad, RC. So before she went missing, she stated to multiple people that there was a guy that came over and was talking openly about melting people in barrels. And in my first video earlier today, we thought it was Eugene. But what if she was talking about RC, the dad, because this would have been before he died? What if in his old age and his senile years, when he knew he was dying anyhow because he was sick for a long time before he died, what if he was just openly talking about it because there was nothing to hide anymore? That's what we're getting into right now, and I'm sure more of it's going to come out very soon. So the police haven't named her yet because they're probably using her to release all the dirty detail information that they can. Because there's only two possibilities. She was either a willing participant and she was like the lure to lure their victims in, or she was about to be next in these situations and was being lied to or was imprisoned in some kind of way. That's the only two possibilities, that she would be using a photo ID of a girl that has been missing for 3 years. And then get her named anonymously in this police report. So we're still getting details very quickly. A bunch of people are asking for updates. I'm trying to give you updates as much as I can. But R.C. Horsch, he's already dead, but it's looking like he had some kind of hand in this. And maybe he didn't physically have a hand in this, but maybe he inspired, because of his work, what Eugene is now being caught doing. They've only got through 5% of this over 700,000 pieces of evidence. And they've already found 4 connections for sure of murders. And there's 5 urns that have human DNA in them and remains in them, like ashes, that they don't know who they belong to. So we're going to see how this is going. No bodies have been found yet, because there's big vats of oil found on the property. They said it was like a Breaking Bad type lab in this house, in this cellar. And he quite literally could have been melting all of the physical evidence of these people's bodies. Stay up to date on this. We have a podcast that talks about this awful, gruesome stuff and true crime and all this stuff. It's called Matt from Nomads, M-A-T-T from Nomads, on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We're going to do more deep dives on this as more information comes out. And this is part 3 of the update of it. So we found out that more than a year ago, so we're in August 2026 right now. In May of 2025, we found out that his house actually caught on fire, and the fire department went out there and found a commercial grade grow house, something they compared to the labs in Breaking Bad. They found this more than a year ago, and they didn't full on search the house to find these over 70 devices that they have now seen contained photos and videos of him and others killing and hurting women. Like, they didn't find the vats that were used to melt bodies. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, go back and watch part 1 and 2. The link will be in the comments. It's Eugene Horsch. And part 2, I covered the impossible involvement of his father and a couple of others, R.C. Horsch, who is actually a RAPE porn director. It was super wild back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And so we have to look at that footage and wonder if it was real or based upon real events that he was doing or seeing. Now, he shared this home with his father, and when this fire happened, it was right before his dad passed away. My video I did last night was talking about his dad's involvement in it, or maybe he did the entire thing almost, or it was orchestrated by him. But we found that all of this stuff had been going on in his home, and that's why they were actually watching him so closely to pull him over in June of this year. And now we're in August of 2026, and all this stuff is coming out about this. Why wasn't stuff like moved quicker? And I guess they're saying, well, we didn't know if it was his or the father's. Who cares? Arrest them both at that point. You know, what are we talking about here? A commercial grade grow house. And I'm not talking about just marijuana. This was like hallucinogenic mushrooms, marijuana. They found that they had large amounts of other opioids as well. Like, it is crazy how much stuff they had in this house. And it took more than a year for them to like further act on it. Like, here we are in 2026, and they have found pots of human remains. They have found all of these videos, photos, and everything. They have found essentially his kill/torture room. They've got all this stuff. When the fire was being put out and they had to go in there, how did they not see this? He had a giant cache of illegal weapons. Like, it was an accidental fire, so he didn't have time to hide all this stuff. Why wouldn't have somebody have seen this stuff? Like, it just, I don't understand it. I'm not following. I can't connect the dots here. Maybe people that are in that area can help me out on why those dots weren't connected more than a year ago. Like I said, I know that's why they were looking at him closer to act a year later, but like, why not right then and there? I know if I had a fire in my house and the police came over and they found thousands of pounds of hallucinogenic mushrooms and marijuana and other pills, they would arrest me immediately and no one would ever see me again. Like, so what was the connections these people had that prevented this from happening? And here is part 4 of the updates I've been giving you all. Eugene Horsch was arrested in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They've already connected 4 bodies directly to him, and they've only gone through 5% of the evidence. Now, they have not found any parts of the bodies, I should say, because there was vats that they believe that he was dissolving them in. But here's the big thing. We talked about his dad's possible involvement, considering the last person missing connected was when his dad was still alive. His dad just passed away last year. The last missing person connected was in 2023. Now, his dad was into some creepy stuff. We talked about that in part 2. But we didn't realize that he actually wrote a book called Memoirs of a Serial Killer all the way back in 2013, around the same time that his ex-wife would go missing. And she fit the description of what he said in a podcast. In one of these podcasts promoting the book and promoting his films that he did, because he did adult films that were of the very gruesome, dark nature. I won't get into it any further than there. Just imagine the worst kind of porn you could watch. That's what he was directing. he talked about in that the best way to take advantage of people if you want to get uncaught is to attack heroin addicts, because they're very sluggish. They cannot fight back. They don't know where they are anyhow. Most of the time they don't even know that you're taking advantage of them. And no one's going to miss them. And the people who would miss them aren't going to want to call the police, because they are also deep into drugs and heroin and other stuff like that. So they don't want the police around for any reason. He talked about this for an hour on a podcast. And then he wrote that book, Memoirs of a Serial Killer. And everybody just thought it was like this little sick, sadistic thing kind of promoting his, like, you know, erotic films. But now we're looking at it going, I think this was a biography. I don't think this was a what if a serial killer. I think this was, I am a serial killer and this is what I'm doing. So we don't know of his involvement quite yet. But him and Eugene, that has been arrested, shared the house. They have found over 700,000 photos, videos, drawings, manuscripts, etc. about death. And when they were looking through them, they found that Eugene was directly involved in two of these women that were missing. One was from 2012, all the way back to 2012. Like I said, his father wrote that book and did that podcast 2013, 2014 area. So we don't know if this was a true biography or if him just having all these crazy ideas put this idea into his son, and then his son acted upon these crazy fantasies that his dad was always talking about. We don't know yet. There has been update after update after update on this case, and we just have not got all the answers yet. And it might be years before we get all the answers. And sadly, I don't think that anyone's going to find any bodies because of these vats they found that it looked like where he was dissolving bodies in. They have found 5 different urns containing human remains, and they're testing on whose those are right now. But yeah, the dad had all of that crazy stuff revolving. He wrote 3 other books about essentially the same subject, but it's from the point of view of the girls. There's a book called Slaves. He co-wrote that book. He co-wrote another book called Annie, about a heroin-addicted girl that's like ran away from home, kind of like a twist on Little Orphan Annie, I guess. And then he wrote another book essentially about the same exact subject again. So we know that Amy McHale, his ex-wife, was struggling with heroin addiction when she went missing. So were these books about specifically his ex-wife that he was married to for 4 years? After they were divorced, they routinely were seen together, and she would sometimes spend the night at his house, because that's how people in that community tend to be. They're kind of transient and, you know, just get a couch where they can. It is really shining a crazy light, and it makes me wonder, like, any other weird authors that are out there writing crazy stuff like this, should we look at this and go like, the human mind probably can't think of something like this. It's probably something they're actually doing and writing about. And this is their way of telling their truth, because we know that serial killers get off on like getting away with it and put it in your face. And this whole time, it could have been a thing where he was writing about what he was doing or his son was doing, or a little bit of both. And it just been a way of like empowerment to him of like, haha, I'm putting this out there and no one's catching me. I'm telling them that I've done this and no one's doing anything about this. We also know that the other girl that went missing in 2023 had extreme drug ties as well. And when his son Eugene was arrested, there was a unnamed female with him in the passenger seat. And she was using the ID of Blair, the girl that went missing in 2023. We still haven't found out who that girl is, why she was with him. Was she going to be the next victim? Was she in on it and she was the lure, the one attracting the heroin addicts back to them? We don't know quite yet. But follow our podcast. It's called Matt, M-A-T-T, from Nomads on Apple Podcast and Spotify. On YouTube, it's Nomads Animal Reserve. We're going to be following the story, coming with more updates as we find them out.